Hello, Covington. Today's announcements. There are senior class officers meet today in the clothing room in homeroom B. Volleyball won last night. Varsity 3-0 and JV 2-1. Nolan and Miles play tonight at Crawfordsville against North Montgomery, and the winner will play Terre Haute on Wednesday. And students are welcome to come to all CT home events. So that's awesome. Now, for the better information, today we are going to be talking about California's Grim Sleeper for our serial series with Murder Milk.
Like Grim from Billy and Mandy?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Disappointing.
Very disappointing. Okay. So, in the mid-1980s, LAPD became aware that there was a serial killer targeting black women that were chronic drug abusers. The killings were believed to be... I can't read. Okay, the killers were believed to be from a killer called the Southside Slayer with 13 victims between 1983 and 1985.
Wait, when did this take place?
In the 1980s.
1980s.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah. Okay, in September 1985, LAPD, I'm going to struggle saying that every single time. Okay, called a press conference and was strongly criticized because they seemed to not care and didn't have a true investigation going on and didn't alert the area for almost 2 years, even though there was a serial killer running
To be
around.
honest, it's LA. They were probably like, it's just like a normal Friday.
But, I mean, there was a lot of dead people here, and they didn't tell anyone. I mean, that's...
Dead people, schmed people.
I guess. Okay. They were paying attention to the Night Stalker, a serial killer who was targeting women from upscale areas. So they were, like, really mad because he didn't kill, like, very many people. And he was like, oh, so you're worried about the rich folks?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have life insurance. These people didn't.
True.
So, by January 1986, 15 murders had been linked to the case, and at the end of the year 1986, the LAPD finally decided that the original theory of one killer was wrong. So it took them, 3 years just to decide that it was more than one person.
Well, I mean, can you really, tell, how someone, was it just with a gun?
It was, several different types of killings. There was different types of guns, different, it wasn't always a gun, all these, different factors.
Well, I mean, how am I supposed to know, or a police officer is supposed to know, if someone
they're
gets
kinda
shot
trained.
by two different people?
I mean, they're kind of trained. They are.
Well, then maybe they
LAPD.
should be better at their job, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. They suck at their job at this point. Okay. That seemed to be the only advancement in the case since 1983. Finally ended the case in 1987 because they couldn't figure anything out. So they just kind of closed the case because there was no new information.
That sounds kind of stupid.
They are stupid. Okay, in the following years, when people had time, they would look at the case occasionally. Serial killer Louis Crane, they found, this was final, he committed at least 2 of the murders, and the other 4 were committed at least one each by, 4 different men. And they were believed to be the women's pimps or clients of the women. So it wasn't really serial. It was just they got mad and killed them.
Well,
so
that's not a
these people aren't
serial
even...
killer.
Yeah, they're not even serial. So they couldn't even figure that out. So yeah.
So they're just bad at their job.
Yes. They just didn't
Wasn't
care.
even Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
Right. I'm confused. Okay.
Well, it's a cereal.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
you just said you were confused.
Whatever. Okay. And then there was a sheriff's detective, Rick Ross. Okay. He worked on the I think it was called Southside Slayer Task Force. They made this after everyone complained that they weren't doing anything. So they made a task force to make them feel better.
Wait, but didn't they already put multiple people in jail?
Yes. But there was still a bunch of killings that were unsolved.
Oh.
So, because that only adds up to 6. And there was 15. So, Sheriff's Detective Rick Ross, who was on the Southside Task Force, was charged with 3 of the murders after being found with drugs and a woman with similar interest in a car, his car. And there was also a 9mm gun, which killed like 4 or 5 of the murders.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like rusty and old. Well, it was police issues, so they were able to investigate that. And they're like, well, it's pretty close.
That's
like,
kind of sus.
yeah, it's real sus.
Did they vote him out?
Yeah, well, what happened was that he was arrested, was put in jail, but then was later released because it was found unlikely that he committed the murders. So
How?
It was just unlikely. They're like, nah.
But like, did they have any reason that it was?
It didn't
unlikely?
say there was any reason. It was just like, it was unlikely that he did it, so he can get out of here. So anyway, that they're, I would assume, like, you know, since they didn't figure anything out and he was on the task force, maybe there's a reason they didn't figure anything out, because they didn't want them to.
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah, that kind of a problem. The last group of women that were unsolved were linked by a .25 caliber firearm, and those cases were named the Grim Sleepers. In 2007, like, it went cold into 2007. And...
I was alive in 2007.
Right? Like... wow. Okay. Where was I? Okay. In 2007, there was another body found that was believed to be linked to the 1985 cases. In 2008, the LAPD got a tip from a 911 call and were able to describe the killer. And in 2010, like, this was... They're making more advancements now.
I was in school in 2010. I mean, I was also in school in 2007.
You were in school in 2007.
I wasn't in important school.
Okay. They were able to describe the killer, and in 2010, Franklin was finally arrested for the killings he committed over the last 25 years. So, like, they did nothing until 25 years later. They finally arrested him.
LA's kind of bad.
Really? Yeah. Okay. And then the only reason the police were able to say it was him for sure was because they found DNA, and the DNA said that, the DNA said that it was like his son. So, but his son was, they said the son was too young to kill him. I don't know how old the son was, but he had to have been little. Because, you know, this is in the 80s and it's now 2010. Because they were like, oh, well, the son was convicted later. Like, you know. So, for, like, other abusive things. So, they're like, oh, it's the son, but the son was too young. So then they tested the, Franklin. Like, I think his name was, like, Loney. Yeah. They tested Loney, and, because he discarded a piece of pizza. And they took it. They, like, followed him around. He ate pizza, and they threw it away. And they took the pizza and got his DNA off of it.
Well, that's what happens when you don't finish your pizza.
So, moral of the story here.
Finish your pizza.
Eat your crust.
Yeah, eat the crust.
Okay. So, it wasn't an exact match, but they were pretty sure. So, while they had him in custody, they got a warrant to go in his house. And when they went in his house, they found 180 pictures of women in his house that were, like, they were all dead.
That's kind of sus.
Yeah. So, during that time. By the time everything was over and he was convicted and in prison, they found over 1,000 pictures in his home.
Like, of different people?
Yeah, they were all different people. The age range was, like, 15 to, like, late 40s of women in his house. It was nuts. Craziness.
Moral of the story is don't move to LA.
Don't go to LA. Eat your crust.
Eat your crust.
And you should be good.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of crazy. And the thing was, he brought in a lot of other killers, including Ricky Ross, who was the sheriff. So, he killed people, but he also found a lot of other killers in the process.
It's an inside job.
It is. That was probably the whole plan, just to get the other
Yeah.
ones turned in. I think that was the whole plan all along.
He was like, I'm just like you.
Yeah. It's like, listen, I can do a better job than the cops. Yeah. And then he died recently. Like,
Oh,
he wasn't even put to death. He died recently in March 29th or 28th.
Imagine
2020.
having
Yeah.
1,000 pictures of people that you likely killed.
Yeah.
And not being put to death.
Yeah. And it's LA.
It's LA.
It's LA.
Don't go to LA.
Yeah. So that's basically what happened. There are a couple movies about it. He was in the military. He was just only discharged in 1975, so he already had some bad past.
Not so not so honorable.
Yeah, not honorably.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was some bad stuff. So, didn't even get put to death. I find that kind of crazy. But yeah, it was a crazy roller coaster of occurrences.
Not emotions, occurrences.
Occurrences. Oh yeah, it wasn't emotional.
Clearly
At
it
all.
wasn't, because the police did not care.
And if you look in our slideshow, he has a great side eye. He is judging you for all the things he did.
Well, I'm judging him for all of the things that I did.
Okay. So that basically rounds it up. Come back tomorrow to see Isabel's fun facts. Interesting, because they're not really fun, but they're interesting about him. And
They might be fun if you're a serial killer.
true. So if these seem fun to you, get help. And that's all I have for today. See you later.